come from Poland, so I know how easy it is to, from us, see people get excitement, like Sean, so I won't push farther, no worries. I'm also not that excited, obviously. Yeah, I need to present this morning, yeah, quite early. The bad thing regarding the subject of this conference and me is that I'm not a designer. And honestly, I wouldn't be very credible talking about the design per se, like UX and this kind of stuff. I do hope that we have a good designers within the Revolut. But the good thing, I hope, is that my whole background is being a marketer. So I would love to give you some perspective about how people change their behavior because of technology and how fintechs and all the tech companies react to that. And yeah, the title is How Challenger Banks Are Reshaping the Future of Finance, which is quite bold, yeah, but let's get to it. So starting from the challenger banks or fintech universe, I don't know how big fintech is in Hungary, I hope very big, but looking at this universe, you can see that there are like so many players. And if you're a bank, you think, yeah, those small guys, we do this, and all this stuff, sometimes better, sometimes more efficient, sometimes bigger. But if I'm about to mention one change with those guys, yes, is that they are hungry, and they may have a different perspective because they are not asked to deliver revenue in every single quarter for the stakeholders, which is a big difference, yeah, and that's a change of the game. Not talking about the regulations and the stuff, yeah? So I'm not in this position to say, yeah, banks are slow, banks are weak, etc. That's totally not the case. It's a little bit different goals that we are having. And because of that, maybe we can reshape the whole industry and show a few innovative things. If you look at the fintech investment, it's quite amazing how it grew, obviously. But like most of the investments grew globally. Yeah, you know, all the VC funds basically giving money to all the guys that are willing to have it. But it's good to stay humble and pragmatic. And it's not apple to apple, obviously. But if you look at the total investment for the first half of 2018, it's quite amazing, yeah? You see $111 billion. If I would just have it for myself, like I wouldn't stand here, I guess you too. But that's not about me and about you guys. It's more about the perspective. If you look at the valuation of the only one bank, it clearly shows how big is the route to get there. And they're also growing. So it's not that the only future is fintech, yeah, but maybe we'll be able to change a little bit the industry. And starting with the fundamentals and going back to my opening statement, if you look how technology changed people's behavior, because as a marketer, I can tell you that you cannot change the needs, but you can change the behavior. And few things changed because of technology. Looking at the first, the mobile phones. 3.5 billion, that's the global number of mobile phones. And what this actually means, it means that if you have a mobile app, then your expansion can be really easy among many countries. Yeah, that's a big difference. You don't need to open the branches of the bank anymore if you are into fintech. And you may say, yeah, obviously that's not true. I'm not going to have an app that's going to be among 3 billion people tomorrow. Remember the Pokemon games? Like, I'm not a gamer, but how stupid it was. Yeah, people catching Pokemons on the streets, and instantly, day after they launched, it was basically everywhere. So that's the potential and that's the change, and it changed also the way how you can think about the competitors, because they can come from every single direction just because of the mobile. Second things are the millennials. If you look at them, 30% of them are now on the labor market, and it's not only about them being picky about where to work and what's the brand of the beer in the kitchen. It's more about them designing and being the early adopters. So most probably, if you're designing a new product, you shouldn't target that to the 60+ people if you go to the mobile and technology. I'm not saying they won't follow, yeah, but they're not going to be the early adopters. So if you are about to have the initial traction, you should have those people to design products for themselves, basically. And last but not least is the attention span. I should end the presentation right now because on average is 8.25 seconds. You're an amazing crowd, as I can see you're all listening for now, but that's not very common nowadays, yeah? We all have mobile phones. Being online and offline is a normal thing. Like so many constant messages which are interrupting us are making the difference. And what does it change to the business and the app? That if you do not have a solution that will attract the attention within those 8 seconds, there is a big chance you will lose those guys. Yeah? And if you look at the funnel and you understand how hard it is to get from the top of the funnel to the lowest level of the funnel, and then you lose them because of this, it will cost you money, a lot of money, and that's not the thing that you're willing to have. So, what we notice about the banks, not the Hungarian banks, not the Polish banks, but generally banks, is that they tend to be expensive. If you look at the average cost of providing the user account in Poland is growing year by year. And we can discuss why, but that's the fact, yeah? They may be inconvenient, like if you lose a card for a long time, it was like super hard to get a new one, especially if you need it the day after. And they may be sneaky, yeah, with the way how they communicate and with the way how they shape the legal terms and conditions, etc. It's not always the case, but we know a few cases which was that way. So, looking at the fintech industry, and that can be the most boring slide ever, but going from the user perspective, which I guess may be a little bit more interesting. Yeah? Look how people changed. Nowadays, traveling is not something very uncommon. For like my grandparents, traveling to Germany was like a big thing, yeah? Once in a lifetime achievement. Nowadays, it's called weekend. You can buy a simple trip and go wherever you want, and it's quite cheap and efficient. And what does it change? It changed that the way how you need to deal with the currencies is like a way different how it is versus the past. You're not buying dollars on some shady guys in the streets like we used to during the communism and holding them in your pockets. Nowadays, you need to handle the currencies in a different way. And the more smooth, more in the back it happens, the better. Yeah, so what changed the fintechs? Obviously, they offered people to solution that they can basically top up their currencies, pay without thinking about it, and not paying the spread. Because, like, let's address the elephant in the room, the spread was a big entrance for all the challenger banks, because that was money laying on the market, charge without the actual justification of it, just as a profit driver, which again I understand because of the goals, but still, that was a great opening for us. But then, send in a request. You can transfer money within your bank account, that's super convenient, etc., but it's not that fast. And imagine that going out for a dinner in the past was, again, like a really big celebration, like for my grandmother, I guess. That must be something really big in life, to go to the restaurant. Now it's every single day. Most probably, if you were not provided with a lunch, you will go away, out. And maybe you will share the bill. And you know how is the story. I will pay you, you will pay me. Eventually in the week, like no one knows who is paying who. And the only thing you know that I'm not the one who should pay. Yeah, so the simple and convenient way to solve that problem is just to have a send a request feature. So you basically pay with your card, you just split it through your friends, and they instantly get a pop-up message, they click, you get money. Simple, convenient, super easy. Yeah, not a breathtaking change. But I promise you, the more you use it, the more you're gonna miss it if it's not gonna be there. And the last but not least is the spend. So categorization is also a thing. Banks are keeping up really good about it. And I'm not an expert on Hungarian banks, so I don't know how modern they are. In Poland, they are quite well. But in UK, for example, that's not the thing, and that wasn't the thing for a long time. So looking at the categorization, it's also a big thing, because nowadays if we pay with the phones and you have the list of your transactions, most probably you have no idea what were you paying for. Yeah? So it's more about categorization in a way that I should spend less on going with Bolt, yeah, or ordering food, than actually I should spend less per single day, yeah, because I still need to eat, I still need to commute, but maybe I can do it in a more efficient way. The control. There is always this discussion about the security, yeah? Obviously, we are not the banks, so our deposits are not guaranteed in the way how the banks' deposits are. But the thing is that our true commitment to the change is more about the future risks of security regarding using your card and your finance app. Because basically nowadays when you buy online, like the biggest challenge for you is not to get scammed with your card. Yeah, so I guess that's way more probable than being robbed from a bank and bank collapsing. Yeah? But that's not the story about the bank, it's more the story about the simple and efficient way of increasing the security by using technology. So basically, if you use Revolut nowadays, you can easily turn on ATM withdrawals, Stripe, cashless, everything you want. If you use N26 and also Revolut, because it's not only about Revolut, after every single transaction you receive a push message. And I also received the same one from the bank, yeah? But the message is, you have a new transaction. Open the app and check it. I know why it is, because the KPI is for the number of users opening the app, which I totally get it, yeah? But again, the more efficient and convenient way is just to see the single transaction. And every time you're in Italy and the waiter is going back in the restaurant, you are not that anxious anymore. Yeah, because you will see how much do you pay. And what is more, you will see it in your local currency. It's going to be translated immediately. So whenever I'm paying with your currency, which is not that easy to convert to Polish zlotys, after every single one, I immediately know how much I'm paying. And the last but not least, that's a really simple solution. Maybe it's on your market. In Poland, that's quite unique for Revolut. We do have virtual disposable cards. So this card basically kills its number after every single transaction. So if we look at the number of purchases that our users are doing in AliExpress, it's quite high, yeah? And all those different strange Chinese websites, which very cheap goods, which people are after, you can buy it way more secure just by using this card, because the number is going to be killed after the transaction, so you're good. Moving forward with the clicker, which is not working. Yeah, technology. Future is now, how it was, yeah? Maybe you guys can click it. Oh yeah, lovely. And I will move a little bit faster. Going back to this traveling, the insurance. That's always the case if you forget about it. I recently was in Kiev, which is outside United Europe, and then you're not covered by our amazing health security scheme in the EU, which is quite convenient, by the way. And I realized it when we landed at the airport with my friends that we are not insured. So we thought, let's do that. But with Revolut, it's quite easy because I just put on my app. But a friend of mine, he was not using Revolut, even though I'm convincing him very strongly all the time. And the first question he got from the insurer is, are you abroad? Yes, I am. So you can insure yourself, but within 2 days. So you will be secured after 3 days, which in the weekend in Kiev may be tricky. You get it, yeah? So again, simple way of just following the thing that you're having your mobile phone every time with you, and you can have things more seamlessly and convenient and providing similar solution. Let me try the clicker. No, I'll do like that. Could you be my clicker, please? Sorry for that. Yeah, crypto. And that's not any advice in terms of investment, just let's be clear with that. But there are many people which are willing to invest in crypto, and it's also not very convenient to log into the market and to buy it. It's quite tricky, those wallets, etc., like who gets it, yeah? Within the Revolut, you can buy a crypto with a really easy way. Within a few clicks, you can have an exposure for the crypto currencies immediately. Smart savings. Do you have the offer on your market that you can basically save the spare change from every single transaction and put it into your savings account? You have it? Lovely. And that was exactly the same thing, which was the response when we launched it in Poland. Like I stayed to the guys in London. Yeah, nice, super. But we have it for like a few years with the Polish banks. That's how modern we are. But the things how we changed it, that nowadays with the feature is called vaults. We can have a group vaults. So basically, you can have a group of 5 friends, and imagine that you're going to Italy for a weekend and you want to save money for an amazing dinner. So you can save money as a team, which is a small tweak, but a quite nice one if you're using it and you're gonna miss it after you first time tried. And going back to the subject of the conference and design and UX, which makes a difference, we are quite often confronted with why you need a metal card if it's all so technology and online. That's a good question, and I also asked myself this question when we launched it initially, but I stopped asking the question after 4 hours when we ran out of the initial batch, because we like totally underestimated the demand. People want to have something physical. If it's nice, they want to have it still. Like, look at the career of the iPhone. Yeah, that maybe not the cheapest phone on the market, maybe not the best one, but for some people, it's better. in the way how it looks and design. And there is a one thing connected with those cards, which is missing. That's the number. Yeah? And you may ask yourself a question, why? But there is also a simple answer with how people... insufficient data for an image. But, okay, I know the image. I will explain you that to you. But you need to trust me for now. But you can check it on your Instagrams. Yeah? But basically, my story here is that just because you have the number on your back, and that's a small UX difference and the design difference, you allow your users to put the card designs on the social media quite easy because they don't need to hide the number. And they do it. And there were a few examples of people showing off their cards. And whenever they have a metal card, or whenever they have a regular card, like the simplest possible design, they may like it. They may like the idea of the packaging, which is rolling when you open that. And you will be surprised like how many users posted that. And that's basically a free content. Yeah? And you may ask yourself a question like whether your users, if you work in the banks, are doing the same. If not, maybe you should adjust. And you will be able to share the voice of them. And they will be recommending your product, and they will be the way how you grew. And that's exactly the way how we grew in Hungary to 250K users. Like, we even do not have the local team here, which is a pity. I hope we're going to change that in the future. But we grew from 0 to 250K users, mostly with the guys using Revolut and recommending Revolut and sharing the story about the Revolut. Yeah, so that's the best way how you can prove that it works. Yeah? If you design your product in a way to be easily communicated by the users and they like it, they're going to do that for you because they will be more interested even than you to have their friends using the product because then they can use all those possibilities and the features that I mentioned before. And that's also one of the questions that we were confronted and asked when we introduce it, like why to have a GIFs, yeah? Like what does it change to attach a GIF when you send a transfer? Basically the answer is nothing, yeah, in terms of the actual functionality. But have you ever sent a GIF? Yeah, you did, yeah. Like my mother is sending me GIFs, and by the way, I have never figured out like what she's typing to get those GIFs. Like if I ever want to find them, like it's impossible. But she did it every time she delivers with her GIFs, yeah? And that's the way how people communicate. That's the way how technology changed that. And we are not to shape the behavior because it's not that easy or even it's impossible, but we can adjust. And giving possibility to send the GIFs with a transfer was one of those things. And now every fifth GIF is fifth transfer is with a gift. And it was crazy at the beginning. Like people were sending those gifts, you know, spending money and all the stuff. They were just having fun with the finance because that's also a difference that we proved the finance can be fun again, which is a nice thing to have. Yeah, you do not have GPay, don't you? I hope it's going to be here. But we launched Apple Pay, finally. And that's also the interesting thing about the fintechs and the way how we shape the narrative as we're going to deliver everything in 1 week and everything is so agile and fast. I think we promised that we're going to deliver Apple Pay in the end of 2017. I joined February 2018, and that was one of the most frequent questions I was always asked about every single user, about every single conference, and the journalists, when are you going to finally launch Apple Pay? It took us like way, way longer than we anticipated initially, but we have it. And you can use it if you're using Revolut. Cool, yeah. So the ultimate goal, and I'm running a little bit out of time, so I will end, the clicker is not working, so I will end up here, is to be one app for all your finance-related stuff, yeah? Which is bold, which you can argue whether that's going to happen, but can you find one example of actually this kind of app working with a scale? If we go to China, there is a WeChat, and you can see like how possibly it can happen. But the road's going to be bumpy, and let's see where we're going to get with it, because banks are adjusting and adopting, developing the more and modern new products, and they are keeping up quickly. They have the bigger scale and all the things related to being for a long time on the market. But that's the one thing. But if you ask me about the future, I wouldn't be that we're going to compete with the banks. It's more us uniting with the banks and competing with the GAFA. Yeah, because you see what is happening. Facebook is launching its cryptocurrency. Recently, Google launched in US, or they plan to launch the accounts. We have Apple with the cards, and we have China, which I'm pretty sure they're gonna also be quite present in our markets. So those guys are gonna one that we're gonna actually compete with. Yeah, they have the scale, they have unimaginable amount of money that they can use it, and imagine that tomorrow every single, and that's not the Hungary reality, but for the other countries for now, imagine that tomorrow every single Android phone is a terminal, yeah, that you can pay with, and you have a bank account within it. Yeah, all the guys in the country, they have it instantly within 2 clicks. That's going back to the slide about the number of the smartphones globally and how they can change the game. A good end of my presentation. Thank you, guys.